Hello, I'm Alex Mansfield, the host of Manny Talks Shooting, and welcome to another episode. This is the shooting podcast where I talk to individuals all across the shooting industry. We'll talk competition, self-defense, concealed carry. If you like this content, check out our YouTube channel, Manny Talks Shooting. And without further ado, let's get to this episode.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Manny Talks Shooting, the shooting podcast on the internet anywhere because I'm not home. But anyway, without further ado, we got to plug the title of the sponsor. Normally, there's a banner behind me from Go Fast Don't Suck, but we're not there today. We're out in the middle of a disclosed location, not at home, but it's all good. So make sure you check out gofastdon'tsuck.net. Tell them Manny you sent you in the order notes, and I'd greatly appreciate it. Without further ado, we're going to move on and talk to the man behind the beard, Mr. Chris St. Clair. How you doing, Chris?
How you doing, Manny? Nice to meet you, man.
Nice to meet you. I'm doing fantastic. As you know, I'm traveling and it's been a rough day, but it's okay because I'm sitting down with some Popeye's chicken, shameless plug, and we're having a good time. But anyway, so for people who don't know who Chris is, he's a guy from Wisconsin, and you're going to learn a lot about him today. So, Chris, my first question to you is, who are you and how'd you get into shooting?
Who am I? I'm the bearded guy. I think probably most people would describe me as the bearded howler monkey. I'm the guy that said I would run for Area 5 because my young teenage sons kind of got me into the middle of all of the USPSA drama. Most importantly, I'm a boyfriend. I am a father. I've got three kids. My daughter's off in college. She's going to turn 21 here in a little while, so that concerns me a little bit. I have 17-year-old twin boys. If anybody's looking for a boy, I'm willing to split the set. If you want to buy, they come with their own firearms and rigs. They do not come with ammo. So no ammo in the sale, but we can go negotiate delivery. You want me to package them up and ship them, whatever it needs. Pretty much, I'm sitting here because I'm a father. So here we go.
Now, will you lease out one of your children for manual labor over the summer?
Most definitely, yeah. We can. Anything is negotiable. That this is America, and whatever it takes, I'll ship. I think FedEx we could probably do overnight and probably only violate a few child labor laws.
I mean, fair enough. They'll survive.
In my boys' defense, they are excellent lawnmowers, like excellent. Their lines are unbelievably straight. They make their grandfather very proud.
Do they have a business yet to mow their own lawns?
They don't. They're both lifeguards, so they're like, you know, doing what lifeguards do, which is darn near nothing. So they're basically set up for a career in government work.
So that's interesting. So you said they're lifeguards. Did they? I'm assuming. Did they enjoy swimming as a pastime? I'm assuming.
Hmm. Yeah, I was a collegiate swimmer. I got my boys into swimming. Not because of some great, like, I want them to be Olympians or anything like that. I needed them to burn off some energy, just like my parents needed me to burn off energy. So, 6 swim practices a week will tire out. Well, I took over the house when they were 4. So, probably from the time that they were 6 to the time, well, still. So, 11 years they've been doing swim workouts and stuff just so that they'll sleep through the night.
Well, that's funny enough because I wasn't collegiate. I did go through swimming all through high school though. My stroke was the breaststroke.
I, I,
And
I have a breaststroker and a backstroker.
well, and then I got forced in doing the IM because no one was legal enough to participate.
Mm. So my best stroke was the breaststroke, but I wound up being the butterflyer on the IM.
It's well, butterfly is the worst. I honestly, that is like self torture in itself. Like,
Totally disagree. Everybody thinks that it's a strength stroke. It's a technique stroke.
yes,
By far, it is one because once you figure out the actual rhythm or however you say that word,
hmm
it actually came to me. But don't think I was in it like a good swimmer. I swam D3, and
hmm
they eliminated the men's swimming program in the middle of my college career because of Title IX.
that is very unfortunate. Now, did you have any scholarships in college due to swimming?
No, I actually had academic scholarships.
Oh, okay.
So I was a walk on the swim team, and it worked out well for me. I was there to get a degree and get a job and do all of the life stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, but being a dedicated swimmer definitely is almost kind of like shooting, right? It's kind of like you got to be super dedicated to get any good at it, and be disciplined to put the effort in 100%.
You're actually the first person to ever say that, and as it was coming out of your mouth, it made complete sense because it's one of those things where you literally have to put the time in, and then all of a sudden you have 52 seconds to perform, and if you don't perform, then you have to go and put another 3 weeks worth of time in order to get another 52-second shot at it.
Yeah, yeah. It's almost it's. I think swim meets, collegiate swim meets are probably worse than shooting a major match because it is probably more than one day.
Oh, actually, no. The swim meets, you actually they have a schedule, at least at the collegiate level, with the local club level, and I ran my kids. I actually ran the computer for my kids' club for more than a few years.
Hmm.
It actually predicts what time events will start, like to the second. It'll tell you that event 32, heat 2 will start at 3:05 and 35 seconds, and it will never start earlier than that. It will only start later. So if you don't swim for 4 hours, you can hang back at the hotel and do whatever, and then just show up at the pool an hour before and hope to catch the next warm up in the pool that's not being used.
That is probably nice, but I definitely knew it. At least at my level, it was you're there the whole time and it sucked.
Oh, yes, yeah. Oh, you got out of school, you got on a bus, and
Hmm.
then you sat in a stinky locker room and then a stinky pool, and then it was 9 p.m. when you got home.
Yes, exactly. And then the
Yes.
fact is that it's everyone smelled like chlorine, and it was never like a good smell of chlorine. It was that overabundance of chlorine
Oh,
seeping
we're
out of your pores.
we're going to disagree right off the bat because if you saw my Instagram profile, I am a bleach worshiper.
Hmm.
I love this. I have a problem. I love the smell of bleach. I don't know why, but when I get to clean my kitchen floors, and my girlfriend has actually taken the job away from me. When I get to clean the floors, I get to use bleach, and I only use like 10% bleach. But when you
Hmm.
walk into my house, it's like walking into the natatorium.
Well, aren't you? Well, it's either you're lucky or you're not lucky because she doesn't make you clean the floors.
And
But
she's absolutely wonderful, and why she lives with me and my boys, I'm really not sure. She probably is like some type of crazy that I haven't figured out yet, but so far so good.
right, absolutely. So you've done this, and you're doing this for the boys, and you're enjoying your time together. In the shooting aspect. At what point did you bring them into learning about firearm safety?
So my dad brought me into it, and he brought me in pretty young. I'll say I was 6 or 7, and he took me out. His family had a little farm, and I get to plink around with a single shot bolt action 22. And when we brought the gun home, he taught me how to clean it. And he said if I ever wanted to see the gun, I just had to ask, and he would bring it out. And I busted that guy's balls. And in kid mind, it was probably for a year, but it was probably like 2 weeks where I
Hmm.
made him bring that gun out every day, and I cleaned it again, and I was just addicted. And I had guns in the house, and when I was still married, there was going to be guns in the house, and we had some kids. All right, we got to do like the firearms training and all that sort of stuff. I brought, I bought. I think my boys got airsoft guns when they were about 6, and we set up a little airsoft range down in the basement, and it extended to go fast, don't suck targets, set up, and I got the little swingers and the whole deal, and then they got holsters and they got belts, all for the airsoft stuff. They were shooting live rounds probably when they were 10. They were hitting targets by about the time they were 13.
Hmm.
um, dad funded a lot of knot holes in paper.
Hmm.
They started shooting USPSA literally the minute they could. So I think that was at 14. Um, I'll say that they shot an indoor match probably within a month of their 14th birthday. I've got a son that's B class in 3 or 4 divisions, and another one that's C in probably 5, including revolver. So yeah, that dude's a maniac with that revolver. I I did my 4 classifiers and got classified in it, but that kid, he likes reloading that revolver. I don't know why.
Well, it's something some people think it's a sensual thing, like I've got okay, I'll preface this. One of my good friends at my local club is a top 5 GM
Hmm.
in revolver in the world, Alex Bakken. So, watching him shoot as fast as he can't mess up. But he's shooting competitive times against, it's a little bit slow. It's maybe more on a limited pace, but it's still very cool to see a guy shoot 8 rounds, have to reload, and then just hit everything. You can't mess up. It's really cool to watch, actually.
Yeah, and I gave my boys free range with the gun, did the local matches, got to the point where we have an outlaw match at the local club that's Tuesday nights, and it's 3, 4-ish USP like stages, but they allow 22s and pretty much just anything what anybody wants to bring.
Hmm.
Got them started with that, got them into USPSA, got a couple of DQs out of the first few years, but they loved it, and sort of like my dad did for me, it was good quality time together, not just on the range, but in the car before and after. And on the range, my boys were able to see me interact with other people,
Hmm.
and sometimes people that I didn't agree with. Everybody's been on the range, and there's been the bad, scoring call, or there's been the bad DQ, or whatever. And my boys were able to see other adults interact with each other, and I would say that my boys actually call one of the guys that I shoot with regularly Uncle Josh, because I mean they look to him for, hey, here's what Dad says, but what's Josh thinking, because Dad might be completely off his rocker or just being a little too overprotective. But my boys have been able to see all of that interaction, and I'll say it, the shit talking too. I mean, my
Hmm.
boys are excellent shit talkers. If there's something that I'm going to be really proud of them for, is their shit talking.
Hmm.
They can do it.
So they can take it and dish it out, which is probably the good thing.
Yes, and unfortunately, they're both kind of talented, and uh, they can often back up what they say. So it's sort of funny to watch, but it's even funnier to watch when they fail miserably. Because as a parent, and I know they're going to surpass me eventually. Watching them fail miserably at this point is like, oh, okay, one more day where I get to be on top.
Right, yeah, and that's the best part, right? You can watch the progression of, okay, I'm still beating you, and then when the boys start consistently beating you, that's the cool thing is, you see their passion and their desire for it, and that they just want to get better and better. But hey, it's your ammo. Just remember that, Chris. It's your ammo.
Uh, I when it comes to, and I guess I'll say, creating decent human beings, because that's kind of like my goal, right?
Hmm.
I watched my dad. I know they're watching me. Uh, Ammo's pretty cheap when it comes to stuff like that. I watch a lot of other parents really suffer to try to get good quality time with their kids.
Hmm.
I've got my boys, basically rearranging their life to come and shoot a match with me,
Hmm.
and you want to get all weepy and teary eyed and stuff. That's the kind of stuff that, as you get a little bit more gray in the beard, that's the kind of stuff that actually makes you feel good.
Hmm.
And I think that I might be on the right path. And I say right because they could wind up being axe murderers tomorrow, and then of course I'm on the front page of the news.
Right. Well, and I mean, I don't have any children of my own, but I hear this all the time. You have 18 summers with your kids, right? Like you have to make
Yeah.
all 18 of those summers count because at that point, they're grown adults, and you might not get to spend good quality time in the summer with them like that.
Well, and that's the hard part about adulting. And my ex-wife is a very good mother, and she's having difficulties as the kids are later teens and escaping the nest. The dad's job is to kind of turn them towards the world and teach them how to navigate the world, where the mom's job is to coddle them a little bit and provide for them. Um, if I croaked tomorrow, I think my boys are going to do okay. I know my daughter's going to do definitely fine, and that's the sort of stuff that why I'm sitting here talking to you, because I'm a nobody when it comes to being on the range. But my the reason I guess I'm sitting here talking to you today is because I think USPSA not only has a value to my family, but probably many other families right now, and definitely families going into the future. And I'd like some other dad whose, you know, son was just born today to be able to have USPSA in 14 years, and they can go to the range, hang out together, and just I can't count the number of hours that I've had like my son's captured attention, just traveling to matches and shooting matches and afterwards, because I know you're a big proponent of the after match meal.
Hmm.
uh, Same thing here. My local club, Schultz Rod and Gun Club, we have a clubhouse
Hmm.
right on the property with a liquor license. So you got $2 beers, dollar sodas, and $5 frozen pizzas. I mean, it doesn't get better than a frozen pizza and a cold beer after a match. And my boys willingly sit there, and they don't sit there and play on their phones and tiki taki or whatever the latest thing with the kids is.
Right. Well, and that's the cool part, right? You get to after the after match meal, you get to debrief, you get to talk all your crap, and you get to actually spend good quality time with the people you want to after the match, because you might not get to shoot with your friends, but afterwards, that's when you get to truly be with your
Yeah.
friends.
Hmm. Now, I'll admit my household is not the normal household, so
Hmm.
don't think my household was uninterrupted by a woman for let's just say like 13 years.
Hmm.
So there were entire rooms of my house that had no furniture, but we were able to cast our match videos up onto the big TV and literally go through each one of our GoPros
Hmm.
data after the match. Just let's say it's for fun, but it was more for bragging rights within the family.
Right. Absolutely. That's we could live with so much less furniture than the significant others actually want. So.
I just moved my girlfriend into my house in June. So literally right after Carry Optics Nationals in 2023, we wound up buying a dog together in Ohio. Like on a whim, not really on a whim. We had been looking for a dog,
Hmm.
and we found a breeder who had one that nobody wanted, and she's somewhere asleep here in the house now. So I just moved a woman into my house along with all of her furniture
Hmm.
and all of her shoes. I'm not really understanding the shoes thing. The furniture I understood. Like all of my furniture was hand me down or from dead people.
Hmm.
Um, but here I sit with nice furniture now.
Right now, okay. Now I'm curious. What breed of dog did you pick up in Ohio?
A little German Shepherd dog.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's
I've
right.
been
Wow.
yeah, yeah. She's the cute thing on my Instagram, other than all the bullshit USPSA posts.
I
The,
don't know
the
why
cute
how that
dog.
escaped my brain. I'm like, wait, he has a cute dog. Why am I asking this question? But no,
Well,
she
there's
she is
a
beautiful though.
there's a golden doodle as well, but she looks like a giant black lab.
Okay.
She's in the family too. You may see her like pulling on ropes with the puppy, or that isn't so much of a puppy anymore.
Doesn't look much like a puppy there, Chris.
She's Whittle. We say that she's Whittle.
That is this funny. Now the question is, have you tried putting a Wisconsin cheese head on her head yet?
Oh, so I'm really bad at the sports ball.
Hmm.
Like, no, I'm really bad at the sports ball.
Hmm.
I moved. Lovely Jennifer is her name, and I moved
Hmm.
Jennifer into the house, and Jennifer is from Indiana, and
Okay.
apparently, if you are born in Indiana, you have to love basketball. I didn't know these things either. So they bounce this ball on the floor, and there's this little like cylinder thing, and everybody cheers when the ball goes through the little cylinder thing.
Hmm.
She's been teaching me about this. The cheesehead thing, the people with the yellow helmet, and there's like a symbol on the side, and like every Sunday you have taco dip.
Taco dip is
So
good though.
all right, I like to think myself a good classic liberal. You give me an argument, you give me some data, I'm going to change my mind.
Hmm.
There are things I will not change my mind about. Your guacamole recipe and your taco dip recipe. If you're putting beans at the bottom of that taco dip, I'm out. You just I'm not sure like what your eternal punishment should be, but it's serious.
Hmm.
Where are you on the beans at the bottom of the taco dip?
I don't know if I believe it on the bottom, but I mean, are you okay with it being in it at all?
Again, as a good classic liberal, I'd be willing to try it because there's no taco dip that you're going to put in front of me that I'm not going to eat.
Right. See, and I guess when you don't complain, when you don't have to make it all the time, you don't complain because you do eat it. But yeah, I don't want it on the bottom. If I have beans in it, I don't want it on the bottom.
So the big sports ball game, the Super Bowl,
Hmm.
I watch the Super Bowl every year because that's when I make my taco dip, and I will make a cooking sheet. But everybody thinks of a cooking sheet as what is actually a half sheet.
Hmm.
I make a full sheet of taco dip, and I eat that stuff for the rest of the week because that is taco dip week as far as I'm concerned.
That's a lot of taco dip right there.
No, I have a problem. And again, uh, I judge people on their taco dip, and I judge them on their guacamole
Hmm.
because you can't just be smushing up avocado and sprinkling a little like cayenne pepper in there and calling that guacamole. That that's an abomination.
Yeah,
I
I don't disagree with you on that one. I don't disagree on that one. But so we've talked a little bit about this and about you do this, you're kind of doing the future is looking towards the children and your families who enjoy USPSA. But I want to talk a little bit more solely about you for this very couple few minutes. But when it comes to shooting, where are you currently at your skill level and your journey in practical shooting?
well, so this isn't the beard isn't dyed gray just for fashion purposes. I belong to a range here in southeastern Wisconsin that ran IPSC matches circa 1995, I
Hmm.
think is the first time I shot one. And it was actually a group out of another state whose gun laws were not conducive
Hmm.
to IPSC shooting. And they ran, I'll say, 4 matches a year at this range. So I would show up to those four. I'd shoot my Colt Gold Cup national match, 45 ACP. I eventually even got 10 round magazines for it. And then these plastic pistols showed up. I
Hmm.
think they were called like G-Locks or something like that. And they made one chambered in 10 millimeter. It made major because remember the 40 Smith and Wesson didn't originally make major with the 175 power factor.
Hmm.
So you had to shoot 10 millimeter in order to make major basically with a stock gun. So I switched over to the Glock 20 and shot that, I'll say 97, 98. Got a job, a part-time job selling firearms there was a local retailer that also had a law enforcement sales business. And so I worked Thursday night selling retail guns and then as needed doing law enforcement sales.
Hmm.
So I actually tried to look at my classification today, and I think I actually shot a match in 2000
Hmm.
was the last time I shot a match. And then got myself married, had some kids, took a pause in my competitive shooting career, and found myself in a law enforcement capacity. I had an officer approach me about putting a red dot on his duty pistol. And I said, well, show me why it's a good idea. He produced two or three like white papers written by other departments
Hmm.
about how these red dot pistoly things were the latest, greatest thing. As an old guy and borderline FUD, I said, hey, okay, the data looks good. Go ahead and do it, and let's see what happens. This guy showed up with I want to say it was a Glock 34 with an RMR on it. Showed up to qualified zero issue. He wasn't a guy that wouldn't qualify anyways,
Hmm.
but he stayed after for about 45 minutes. Let me shoot his red dot pistol. I sat with I think I was actually carrying a VP9 at the time for the next year, but I kept playing with his gun at any chance I got. And so I showed up the next year with a Glock 34 with an RMR on it because I didn't know any better. And
Hmm.
of course, I bought the Gen 4 because it had the little finger grips because that's what I was used to because I had transitioned off of a Gen 3 Glock
Hmm.
way back in the day. Um, Pulled that out of the holster. Qualified, no problem, but qualifying wasn't the issue. But I didn't feel like I was making the most out of the gun. I remembered IPSC. I Googled IPSC and found out that IPSC wasn't called IPSC anymore. It was called USPSA. And there was this club about As the Crow Flies. It's probably not 7 miles from my house.
Hmm.
And the guy who originally said I want to put a red dot on my duty gun said, "Hey, let's go shoot this match." And there I was back in competitive shooting again after a 19-year pause, let's call it.
Well,
So
that's an interesting way around it too. So, I mean, back shot IPSC back in the day. Now you come back and it's USPSA, and you come in probably shooting a red dot.
right, and it was as you get older, eventually you realize that you're losing a step, right? And I felt that I had been losing that step, and that by putting the dot on, I would get that step back.
Hmm.
Uh, pull out the Glock. I come to my first USPSA match, and I shot, or at least I thought I shot okay, and then like the dentist from 2 towns over kicks my ass, and it's not even close, right?
Hmm.
So I said, okay, I remembered what this felt like, the competition. I remembered the camaraderie. And the biggest thing that I saw coming back to USPSA was it was like golf. Like everybody was quiet and everybody was paying attention and nobody wanted to talk. And my buddy and I, we're talking shit. I mean, like we're giving each other like a lot of crap, and everybody was looking at us like we had 3 heads growing out of our neck. Like, no, this is, you don't understand how important this is, and this is a classifier stage, and like when when you're shooting, you don't like do commentary about how much you're screwing up. This is very serious business. So for that first about half a year, my buddy and I wound up getting ostracized
Hmm.
because nobody wanted to shoot with us because we weren't taking it serious enough. But then all of the non-serious people all got put on the same squad, and then we started having a party at the USPSA matches.
Hmm.
And lo and behold, now we're 4 years down the road. We're all friends. We've got a group text chat thing going on, and we're pretty much running the local club. We're running the USPSA matches. We're doing the outlaw matches. We're running a 5-star charity shoot. All of us misfits
Hmm.
have kind of taken the stick out of everybody's USPSA butts, and we have a good time on our squad. I don't know about the other squads, but boy, we're having a good time.
Right.
Don't look at our scores though.
Right.
That's not the correct reflection of our
Right,
actual shooting.
but this is about be having fun, right? USPSA is a way to get out there and have fun. I don't necessarily understand the people who are like are all serious all the time. Yes, I will say, as my listeners probably know, I am a very competitive person, and I am striving to be the best shooter I can be. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to crap talk. I'm not going to talk smack. I'm going to have fun and laugh at your expense, more particularly because, well, not. Let me rephrase that. Let me say this is like you might have a dumpster fire, be like, "Oh man, that sucks," but 10 seconds later, I'm going to be busting your balls the next, but
I, I do understand when you've got a loaded gun in your hands,
Mhm,
you kind of have to be serious, and just by the nature of the particular action.
mhm,
But we always say it's time to be serious after they say make ready, and even before the beep, if somebody heckles you, you can definitely respond, and that is not an affirmative action that you are ready.
mhm.
So you could take another 5 seconds, get yourself set, and then go out and have your own dumpster fire to match everybody else's dumpster.
Right, exactly. No, and that's cool. And like you said, you're running. You and your group of people are running Schultz Rod and Gun Club. The USPSA side. All the what? I'm assuming all the action pistol or just USPSA in your outlaw match.
So Schultz is actually, and for a plug for my local range, they mistakenly allowed me to get elected to the board. Basically, no, because I could touch type.
Hmm.
The guy who kind of was running the club was a retired cop. He said, "Oh, you're a cop. You can come in. We're going to get you a spot on the board. We need a secretary." So they
Hmm.
elected me, and then I show up at these meetings, and there's no agenda, and there's just all kinds of just like craziness going on at the board level. And I'm like, oh, time out here. I've worked for the government for a really long time. Meetings have agendas. Meetings have end times. People disseminate information ahead of time. This is chaos. I don't like chaos. Again, the bleach thing comes back to,
Hmm.
kill the germs, all that sort of stuff. So my group of friends and I, not maliciously in any way, but sort of organically, started talking to the other shooters and said, "Hey, would you like to come out here and actually be able to draw from a holster?" And just kind of eroded the rule set, think 1965 circa NRA type rules
Hmm.
into more of a, I won't say USPSA, but let's say IDPA type rules. And eventually, everybody else in the club said, "Hey, this would be fun. Let's have fun at the range rather than having all these restrictions on us." And here we sit again, 4+ years later. The board of directors is all kind of working in the same direction. I run the club's USPSA matches, so I guess I'm technically the match director. There's another club, the Northern Illinois. Or no, what are they? Neither
NISA
Northern Illinois, not Northern Illinois.
Shooters Association or
Shoot,
something.
yeah, let's say that. But they're actually run by a guy out of Wisconsin too, Eric Camps, who's a local GM here in the southeastern Wisconsin area, and
Hmm.
he shoots internationally and the whole deal. He runs that match. So second Sunday of the month is the Schultz match. Fourth Sunday of the month is the NISA match. The third Saturday of the month is IDPA, and it looks like we're going to do the third Sunday of the month is going to be PCSL. Mix in there Steel Challenge is the first Saturday. Um, I've tried Steel Challenge. It's just not my jam.
I don't
Um,
I don't blame you because it's not mine either. I cannot stand the repetitiveness of Steel Challenge for
and
myself.
yeah, and the pace. I've got a little ADHD long before it was cool to have ADHD. My boys got it, but I tried to tire them out enough, and sitting there for 6 hours and shooting for a grand total of, boy, if you're doing it right, 25 times six. You're what are you shooting for 2.5 minutes if you're doing it right?
Yeah, if that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just not our jam. We actually did a match here. I'm gonna say 2 months ago. We tried it out again, and my girlfriend left after 3 stages. She was just like, "No, I'm gonna go home and be with the puppy."
Right.
So, anyways, so yeah, so that's what Schultz runs. We've kind of got all the stuff. We run a number of outlaw rifle matches. We just had a night rifle match, and I wasn't able to make it because I was at work. And I just posted the pictures up on the website. Man, does that look like fun!
Hmm.
I mean, a couple of suppressed guns going off at night with nothing around. Mm.
Right. Well, and I'm assuming it was probably people who were shooting with night vision and some people with white light.
Yeah, most the guys who shot with white light did better because the night vision guys figured out uh, after about the second stage that you can't tell the difference between a white target and a brown target with nods on. And we actually asked an army guy at the meeting yesterday. Yeah, when the army or all the people are doing night and nods focused operations, they actually have Velcro patches on their uniform that shows up differently under the night vision, so that you don't wind up with friendly fire.
Yep. That is a
So
true thing. Funny enough, is we actually make in my day job we make some stuff for the military applications for that kind of purposes. So you that nothing shows up. It's kind of cool. But so you run all these eventually you get suckered in. I would guess you used to get suckered in, but you decided to change Schultz's mentality at the range, right? You take it from a very much, I'll say it, FUD range to a better mindset, style, rule set.
and I don't want to discredit the people that came before me because they put in a lot of work.
Hmm.
The people that worked to make Schultz a private entity, they put up a lot of their own capital,
Hmm.
more than a few years ago to keep it running and keep it available. Right now, we use a lot of grants from the Wisconsin Department of Natural Resources,
Hmm.
and they help support us with matching grants or 50% matches and stuff like that. So we've been spending money to, I guess I'll say, keep the doors open and to make the ranges better. But Schultz, particularly, we've got 8 and 5. We've got 13 pistol bays, 150-yard range, 100-yard range. We're very well set up, and most importantly, we have a clubhouse with a liquor license.
Hmm.
So the after hours, the after shooting camaraderie exists, and that's where kind of everybody. We've got the vintage people, we've got the rifle people, we've got the pistol people all coming together in that
Hmm.
clubhouse after the fact. And when you realize, yeah, we play with different toys
Hmm.
and we've got different games that we play, but everybody's kind of going in the same direction. And that's kind of where Schultz sits right now.
Right.
And though, I mean, I run a match. I usually open it with 72 people. It's usually full about 10 days out from the match. I'll usually throw another 8 spots in. Um, and I mean, I've had matches with 96 people, and that's for a monthly level 2 USPSA match. We
Hmm.
draw from a lot of geographic area, and I kind of try to put on a pseudo level 2 environment. If you look at my matches on practice score, you'll see that they're pretty well balanced. They're not all 32 round blazing stages. They're also not all 6 round speed shoots where revolvers don't get smoked.
Hmm.
So we've worked very hard at that, and it's been a concerted effort. But it's been the same group of people just having fun and hanging out with each other.
Hmm.
As a match director, I've talked to other match directors around the country, and on a typical Saturday before my Sunday match, I'll have 20 people show up to help me set up.
That's a
Like,
rarity. I mean, that's a
right,
true rarity.
no, 2-0, and they're like, "Well, what are you doing?" I said, "Well, my match is, it's $35 now. You get a discount for being a Schultz member, so that now it's down to 30, and I'll give you another $25 discount to come and help me set up the day before." So it's a $5 match. I cover my USPSA fees and my classifier fees, and the club makes 50 cents on somebody who comes and helps set up. But if I've got almost 80 shooters, I've still got 60 paying customers.
Hmm.
and that's more than enough to put in the till for. We're going to have running water at the range
Ooh,
come this spring.
that'll be nice. But yeah, and then to think about it, you get 20 people helping you set up, you get a 80 to 90 person match. You can have, 9 stages and, have more bodies in the match. Like,
Yeah, and so my typical setup,
mhm,
7:30 the Saturday before the match because the range opens at 10, so we need to kind of be done setting up by 10. We
mhm.
used to start at 7. We do it 7:30 now. I literally hand out the sheets, the
The
witness stage
diagram,
briefings. Yeah,
right?
to 3 guys here. You go in 8. You go in 7. You go in 5. And then I just load buckets with pasters and diagrams and spray cans and stuff for the ones with steel. And I literally have that setup time to build the stages in the tablet and the whole deal. And usually by 9:30, I've got guys standing around my table asking if there's anything else they can do. And so we show up on Sunday morning, we hang targets, set up the classifiers, and we're shooting.
That's an impressive. That's an impressive feat right there, especially when you get that many bodies or that are willing to volunteer 3 hours on their Saturday morning.
Well, and that's the other thing kind of that we found is when we set up Saturday evening, like if we had to use different bays and we were following Steel Challenge or something like that, the number of people that showed up on a Saturday evening was it was closer to 0 than it was to 20. It's
Right.
probably 6. But
Yeah.
but then you have again back to the whole club mentality and hey, we're the same people working in the same direction is you get to meet people that you normally wouldn't shoot with, normally wouldn't talk to, and then all of a sudden you know their kids' names and you know their wives' names, and all of a sudden you've got a community. When I send out an email to what I call my setup crew,
Hmm.
it's probably I bet it's closer to 45 than it is to 40 people
Hmm.
that over the course of a year, so I can run 8, 9 matches a year without burning everybody out. They get their work hours that are required for being part of the club, but they also get to shoot for $5. So there's another match's worth of ammo that you're saving.
Hmm.
So it's worked out really well, not only for me as the match director, but for Schultz from a revenue standpoint. We started taking credit cards online, so I don't have to handle any cash. So nobody accuses me of stealing from the club, and off I go.
So, do you only take online payments for matches?
Once I realized that my match was going to fill every month, like I wasn't gonna need the walk-in revenue.
Hmm.
I started doing online payments only.
So my old club, the member I was a member at, or still am till the end of the year, Brooklyn Sportsman's Club, hosted Michigan section in Area 5 in 2022 and 2023. That's what we did for our local matches as well. We took online payments only. Yeah, we take walk-ins because there's always going to be a walk-in or two, but um, we always had it be an issue when people had to back out of the match. What is your withdrawal policy then?
So I posted right on the practice score thing, and originally to be a kind of a hard ass, I didn't offer refunds at all.
Hmm.
But the real reason is I have a competing match on the same date in Central Illinois. So
Hmm.
what people were doing is they were signing up for my match and the Illinois match, and the Illinois match sits in a swamp. So if it rained that week, they would come and shoot at Schultz.
Is that
If it didn't rain,
Chillicothe or something?
I, I really like the guy who runs the Illinois match, so I won't throw him under the bus because we're literally competing for the same shooters.
Right. Yeah.
Um,
It doesn't help when yes,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
geographically stealing having each other's match.
Well, if somebody lived in the Chicago suburbs, it's an equivalent drive to his match as to my match. And if I were that person, I would sign up for them both if it didn't cost me anything, and just go to the one that's a little bit closer to me.
Right. Or the weather looks a little bit better. Right.
Yeah, whatever. And so the previous match director, he'd have 70 people signed up, but only 40 shooters. So he's only getting $40, 40 people worth of money in his pocket, and
Hmm.
he was getting a little bit of shit for that. And uh, so I basically said no refunds at the beginning, but now I say if you would withdraw basically before, I'm going to check the registration on Tuesday morning. So if you withdraw before Tuesday morning, I'm going to give you your money back minus the credit card fees.
Hmm.
And cool, you can hedge your bets one way or the other. Um, I've been doing this, maybe it's 2.5 years now. I can't remember where I wasn't capped, where I didn't have a full match.
Hmm.
It's been a while. So the club's kind of been able to count on, hey, Chris burns this many targets, this many pasters, this much spray paint, and um, duct tape, whatever I buy, right? $70 a month worth of crud,
Hmm.
and but the money is going to come in to this amount. It's made the treasurer is very happy with those online payments.
Right. Yeah. It definitely makes it easier, and that's why we liked it. But it at least you were able to fill up. At least where we were, we'd always have the people back out last minute, or there was nothing really competing. So they took it or leave it. Right. It was one of those things, and it was always a pain because for some reason our Stripe account wouldn't want to send money back out, so we'd actually have to send checks to
Oh,
people.
that's a thing. The first time I took online payments, and the treasurer and I, we kind of sat down, and I'm the corporate secretary for Schultz as well. So
Hmm.
we had a working relationship, and I said, hey, I want to do this. He said we've never done it before. I'm like, oh, Practice Score has this all set up. How hard can it be? Well, it takes money in spectacularly, but giving it back, um, I had a rained out match. So I wound up, I had to refund 40 some people or whatever who didn't want to shoot. And I felt bad keeping their money for the, other 30 of us that were dumb enough to shoot in the rain.
Right.
But um, giving the money back, I think that took me the better part of 10 days to figure that out. And it's a Stripe thing. It's not a Practice Score thing.
Hmm.
But yeah, Stripe doesn't. Once Stripe has your money, they're going to hold on to it for whatever it is, the 9 days or whatever they say.
Yeah, exactly. And then we actually were looking up at the post past match directors, and I were looking. Let's just stop taking the money online because it always became a hassle because we couldn't refund it out. Like it, and but here nor there. I mean, I'm glad that at least Schultz, you're filling you're filling your matches up. You're able to take credit cards, so you don't have to have cash on hand. Like just the ease of mind to just say you check people in on Sunday morning is so much better than okay, where's my money?
Well, and when I got elected to the board, and then when I took over for the matches, it was because everybody was saying that the matches should have been making more money than what had been reported in the past. There
Hmm.
was this idea that there was just like money flowing out of USPSA, and other people have that idea too. I said, fine, I'm just not going to touch any cash. I took $100 in cash when I began match directing. It has a binder clip on it in the glove compartment of my car. And I think there's still like 73 of it still
Hmm.
sitting there. And I report it every month that I still have the money, but I don't touch any money. Here's what the match costs. Here's the discount for being a member. Here's the discount for being a setup crew. And I couldn't tell you how much the match makes. I could because I can do math, but I never touch it, so nobody's going to say that I'm stealing it.
Right.
And that goes to a one. I don't want to worry about somebody accusing me of stealing because I'm just not.
Hmm.
But then the other thing is I want everybody else in the club to know I'm running an up and up event. You should take online payments. You should take credit card payments. You should be able to track all of your fees so that at the end of the year, when the club says, hey, you know, pick a match, all of our outlaw matches run the same way. Um, whatever the event is that you want to run, here's your receipts, here's your documentation, here's your deposit, right?
Right. Right.
Just no questions, easy enough.
Right. Here's your incoming and outcomings for the month of October.
Well, and the way the club runs is the treasurer at the monthly meeting basically reads out, here's all the checks we wrote, here's all the income, here's our current checking account balance, here's our savings account balance, here's what our insurance cost, all that kind of stuff is all read right into the record.
Right. Absolutely. And that's how it should be. I mean, that's how, the one club I was a part of, I haven't been to my new club's meetings yet just because it's not ideal on a good day for me. But as it should be, right? It should be part of the meeting.
Well, but realistically, if the club not the membership, if the club leaders are doing all of the right things, if you miss a few meetings, you shouldn't feel like you've actually missed anything other than hanging out with your friends. And the place that Schultz ran their meetings at that just changed hands, they had the best BLT in the free world.
Mm,
Yeah, and like the guy who owned it previously, he bought special bread, and I don't know what he put on that bread. It's probably some cancer causing agent or something. But
mhm.
then added a little avocado to the BLT. My 17-year-old kid would go sit through a rifle club meeting to
Just
eat
to
the
have a
BLT.
BLT.
To have the BLT. That's how good it was.
That is pretty legit. That is pretty legit. So I do want to change gear. I'm
All right.
loving this conversation of talking about Schultz. I love the transparency on that. I do have a couple listener questions, and then I've got a
Oh boy.
Wisconsin, and
I,
then
I fear the listener questions because like somebody might actually know me and ask like a real question.
well, these are true real questions. People you probably know or have heard of. I'm not going to oust their names
No,
purely
no.
because they know what questions they asked. But it kind of it rolls into the next topic I want to talk about, and then talk about Area 5 directorship. So one person did ask, what is your opinion on And this is a really great time because yesterday a post was made um, about Wisconsin. So what do you
Yes.
what if you can share some light on it, and what do you personally think about the Wisconsin section almost being essentially not a thing anymore?
Uh, I have a great many of opinions, and it wasn't a surprise to me. I wasn't personally at the meeting, but I did have a proxy there.
Okay.
Josh, the current area director who's stepping down, reached out to me many weeks ago. I mean, this isn't a new problem, and we could kind of see where things were going. Um, I wasn't up on all of the latest greatest rumors from, and I'll say north central Wisconsin. Um, the I I don't know what happened in my life, but I didn't travel as much for my shooting as I typically would have in 2023. Probably bringing this woman into my house and this dog. But
Right.
anyways, Josh reached out to me and said, "Hey, here's what's going on. What do you think? Can you please come to the meeting?" And I'm like, "Dude, I got to work. I got this thing I got to be at work at 4 p.m. You're 5 hours away. The meeting's 5 hours away. I'm not going to be able to make that. Can we do like a Zoom meeting or anything like that?" He was like, "Well, how about a proxy?" I said, "Okay, cool." So a gentleman stepped up and said, "I'll call you. We'll have a conversation. We know the topics that are coming up. Where does Schultz sit?"
Hmm.
So, um, oh, what I'm trying to use nice words that the nuns wouldn't hit me with a stick for.
Right.
Uh, the the level of upset people is far greater than might be indicated on activity levels.
Okay.
People like shooting. I think, as I sit here right now and I'm speaking for me, USPSA has a good product. They give my customers, the people who shoot my match, a product. They give them a rule set. They give them a range officer group, and they give them the classification system. That's an order of importance to me.
Hmm.
So that's why I sit here not flushing USPSA down the toilet. There are other clubs in Wisconsin that have smaller matches. They have 25 and 40 people matches, and I don't know how that fits into their budget, but Schultz is looking for that USPSA income, and the fees from Schultz's side. I run a match that has two classifiers every month, only
Mhm.
because I have two small bays that classifiers fit in way too perfectly. So it's not like I'm like this like classifier-ophile. It's I don't want to spend my mental time fitting something into a 30-foot wide bay.
Right, and you're giving up more than the average club. You're giving $4.50 to USPSA per shooter per month.
Exactly. But my setup crew is paying $5, so I'm making 50 cents on them, and
Hmm.
everybody else they're paying 35, but I'm really making 30 on them.
Hmm.
Figure there's 70 of them. Everybody can do the math. That can pay for a lot of bathrooms. It can pay for a lot of time to run the trap lights on Tuesday and Thursday nights when the old guys are shooting trap. I was able to build new berms, all that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
So um, I had a proxy at that meeting. I was kind of privy to all of the conversations. The meeting was Saturday. My entire drive home from real work
Hmm.
was dealing with USPSA, and I'll call it drama, but it's not even drama. This stuff is all, this is X's and O's, dollars and cents, whatever you want to call it. The clubs realized what they were getting for their USPSA money, and they said uh, that extra $150 is 10% on our bottom line. It's probably actually 25% on their bottom line,
Hmm.
and it was better to keep it in house. PCSL targets are pretty cheap, and uh, I've done the math. I'm going to run a PCSL match in March.
Hmm.
So don't think that I'm like this. Uh, I don't see the value. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to shoot my gun. I could pull something out of my safe that's going to meet the rule set. Um, I'll admit I thought in my life I was going to make GM. I'm probably not, but it's there's a value trade off there. But I'm going to go out there and I'm going to have fun. I'm going to have fun with my family. Um, Trying to convince my girlfriend that she's not going to make B class. That's going to be my hardest argument. I mean, no joke. I mean, I, you're laughing, but
I just
you
want to
buy her
imagine the
all.
conversation, man. Like I'm just like, how's he gonna do
No,
it?
no, no, no. I don't want to have that conversation. So that's why not just so my boys can shoot USPSA, but what the Wisconsin section did is we took our bylaws and we just bleached. A motif in our conversation tonight.
Mhm.
We bleached the bylaws to say action shooting. So if the IDPA guys want to come and play with us, the PCSL guys, the USPSA, it's going to be supporting the, oh God, I'm really dating myself. The action pistol shooting type folks.
Mhm.
PCSL's two gun rules look really good to me. I mean, it looks like somebody spent a lot of time with that. So I can see where the other clubs did their thing, and if I were sitting in those meetings, I probably would have made an argument against the wholesale flushing of USPSA. But that's just me because I've made that argument at Schultz, right?
Right.
Because they're like, when the Schultz board comes to me and says, about all of this bullshit, why would we even want to fund this in any way, shape, or form? And I said, because these are our clients, these are our customers, this is the long term goal. It's not done yet. But, anyways, back to Wisconsin. Uh, the biggest deal from my end, and this is probably the first time I'm saying it out loud, the Augusta Club in the La Crosse area of Wisconsin was scheduled to run the Wisconsin section match,
Mhm.
and they are now not. So I think actually Ben Stager actually reported on YouTube today that Schultz, he actually read maybe it was a post on Facebook or
I think it
whatever,
was.
that Schultz is going to be running the Wisconsin section match, and I've literally sent one email about it. I, I'm not. I'm going to try to dodge being the match director on that as much as I can, but uh, I think the powers that be are going to put it on my shoulder, and I've already got a match, a range master who stepped up and said that he's going to help me out. So I'm, I'm I was about to lie and say that I'm looking forward to that. Uh, I, I take it as a great challenge, and I'm looking forward to having a cocktail with all of the staff at the end of that match. Let's leave it at that.
Right. Well, and as you know, you would have probably, if you were at the meeting, you would have told them to not necessarily whitewash USPSA out of their lives, but we had a club in Michigan say like, well, we're not going to run USPSA anymore. We're only going to run PCSL. They posted their first match on Practice Score like that. You know how many people they had sign up?
A dozen.
Less than a dozen. So you know what they
Yeah.
did? They canceled the match, and then now they're going to go back to running USPSA because that's, at least in this area, that's what the people want. That's the product they want from a shooting match, at least here.
Yeah, and I generate
Hmm.
a typical month when I have my new shooters meeting. There's somewhere between 6 and 10 people, so I get new shooters, and I tell them, hey, you're at a match where you're going to have two classifiers. You're going to be halfway to being classified. I sell that USPSA membership to them.
Hmm.
It's $60 now. It's pretty cheap. I just bought one for my stepson, or I guess he's not technically my stepson, my girlfriend's son. He's going to
Hmm.
go shoot a classifier match with me on Saturday. You know, dudes in. There's a value to that, and that's kind of why I would say don't flush USPSA down the toilet until USPSA flushes themselves,
Hmm.
and that's it. The rule set is solid. There's some weird competition stuff in there, and especially at a national match, when you call for the range master, and I've done this, I've been both popper fucked and I've been wall fucked at nationals,
Hmm.
and it hurts. I fully admit it, and to have somebody just arbitrarily pull something out of their butt, I totally get how upsetting that could be, and I wasn't doing well to begin with. I was just trying to get all the points I could, right?
Hmm.
But the rule set is pretty solid, and most importantly, that range officer training is more than solid. Is it a 2 day class? No, but it's the information that is dispensed only because I've sat in the level one range or whatever the basic range officer class twice, because not only did I go through it, the next year I put my boys through it.
Hmm.
So I sat there with them, and then my girlfriend went through when I went through CRO class,
Hmm.
and so there's a great value there that I think, looking at the politics and the soup that is
Hmm.
USPSA often gets lost just because of a couple of things that are going on. Not that they're small things, but that they're uh, this isn't the case where throwing the baby out with the bathwater or whatever the old people saying is.
Hmm. Well, yeah, and that too, right? Like, did I just lose my conversational thought? But anyway, uh, it's a good product, right? Now, here's where I was going. Did you listen to the replay of the Area 3 members meeting that Scott Armberg did the other day?
I did. Scott and Frank are my heroes, and they know this. I have sent them emails basically saying you do not have to respond to this. Just thank you. Right?
Hmm.
Those guys are doing all of the work right now. They if you wanted to wonder what USPSA could be, Scott and Frank are what USPSA could be. They would be volunteer individuals running the organization for a period of time and handing it off to somebody else.
Hmm. Right. Well, and as even and Scott said in this, and I've messaged Scott, thanking him for. I watched the whole thing. It took me a week to get through, But
It took me 2 days too. I'll admit.
well, just you're like, oh, you're listening to it, you can dedicate to fully watching it, and then it's like, oh, something came up, I'm gonna pause it because I don't want to miss anything. But as he said, and if listeners, and if you haven't listened to this on YouTube, it's on probably the Practical Shooting Training Group YouTube
Yes,
page
yeah,
that
yeah.
Joel runs.
Joel Parker on it,
But
right?
so go watch it. It's worth the listen. But Scott was saying, we need to turn the ship 2 degrees. In 20. We're not completely lost. We need to get the ship back on pace, and even if it's the 1-2 degrees that we need, we're going to put us in a better trajectory. And I think
And
that's where
let
you come at from your point of perspective as well. We're not lost yet, but we could be.
uh, Scott is more of an optimist than I am, and I would actually consider Scott a friend,
Hmm.
although we haven't spent much time in person. But we, I think we share a common goal,
Hmm.
um, and I wouldn't say 2 degrees. My actual degree is in civil engineering, so I take numbers very seriously. I think we're about 15 degrees off.
Hmm.
We need to change course. The our tack associated to the wind is not appropriate. All you can throw some nautical terms in there, whatever. Um, Frank and I have had long in-person conversations, way longer than either one of us expected. But the again, I'm actually thinking of Sister Edna May right now and how she would like me to phrase this rather than how I would probably say it to my boys. There is a major um, thinking process that needs to be added to the not just the organization but to the community. And for a $60 membership, you shouldn't be expecting what you're expecting. And if you're, for $100 membership, 40% more, that's a different story. But at the $60 level, what a lot of people say they want versus what can actually happen at that level, I think is a little bit skewed. So, as an organization, the organization needs to dial back to that $60 membership level.
Hmm.
And if we want to produce a product that is $100 product, then we have to have customers willing to pay that $100. And I think that's somewhere in between 60 and 100. There's a fault line where people are going to fall off.
Hmm.
And most of the people that fall off will be having dump pouches on their bags or on their belts. And not, I understand the process of a dump pouch. I don't own one,
Right.
but
Right. Yeah. And exactly right. It's a. I agree with those statements on that one. But but it seems like we've got lots of work to do, and you are one of the people willing to stick their neck out and say, hey, I'm willing to dedicate my time to help fix the problems by putting in some effort and volunteer at another
don't
level.
yeah don't paint me as a martyr. So
Right.
because this is totally self-serving on my part. Um, I have these two young men to raise. They
Hmm.
were young. I'll say they were closer to boys when this started, and they're much closer to men now that we're, and let's say I'm 2 years into serious howler monkeying.
Hmm.
Uh, One of my boys brought Practical Shooting Insights to me and said, "Hey, Dad, what's this about?" I hadn't seen it. Start looking at it, start reading it, start doing my own research, behind the line. I start sending some emails out and start asking some questions. And this is right about the time that Derek and Ben and Joe are getting banned.
Hmm.
Um, there are things that I will allow my boys to stand for, but I will not allow them to stand for unfairness. You want to rig a game, you publish those rules, you walk into a casino and you play craps,
Hmm.
you know it's rigged, right? You know you're going to lose. Your best odds are 14-1. But you walk into USPSA, you should expect fair treatment, and I'm going to just say on the level treatment with everybody else. Nobody is above anybody else when it comes to an Alpha Charlie call, when it comes to a DQ or not DQ, or when it comes to getting in a match or not getting into a match. And all of a sudden, I saw a bunch of unfairness. And
Mm-hmm.
most importantly, my boys saw the unfairness. And they started asking questions. And I spent way too much. Like, I mean, when they were little, we used to watch Dexter's Laboratory at the dinner table, just
Mm-hmm.
for something to do while I did dishes. And now we're having USPSA conversations about, are these men treating each other fairly, and are they listening to each other's arguments, and they're willing to learn from each other, and they're not.
Mm-hmm.
And all of a sudden, and I can remember where I was standing, and I can remember where one of my sons was sitting. And he said, "Well, Dad, what are you going to do about it?" Well, here I sit, some dopey guy on the internet saying, "Well, I'm just not going to stand by for the unfairness. I'm just not. What the does is Ben Stager an asshole? You bet. Is Chris St. Clair an asshole? I will out asshole Ben Stager on any day. I will take the Pepsi challenge with Ben, and I'll bet you I can do it better. So if Ben can get banned from USPSA as a multinational champion, and I don't know how many times did he win the world championship? At least once, right?
Mm-hmm. At least once, yeah.
If he can get flushed, I have no hope, right? And the disagreement on a political level as to where an organization should go or doesn't go, it should stop when that timer goes off. When that timer goes off, an alpha is an alpha and a Charlie is a Charlie, and a DQ is a DQ. There shouldn't be any question about it. This is the level playing field. You wanna complain about projects and whether the USPSA should buy a trailer to tote around shit from the 80s. That's a whole different conversation than what's going on, and I'll just say on the competition field.
Mm-hmm.
And to say that, Derek, Practical Shooting Insights, said the right things, didn't say the right things, ruffled somebody's feathers, uh, you know, I don't know how feelings play into any of that. If what he was saying was untrue, show us the truth. We'll know he's a liar, and we will fall in lockstep with whomever's saying it's a lie. But
Mm-hmm.
kind of here we sit with, I guess Joe's back in now, and Derek and Ben are still banned. But uh, where are we on? We talked about competitive equity. What about just general fairness as human beings on this planet?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you're right, and that's where it kind of comes down to is the fact that you know all things aside, egos aside, like we all need to show each other's fair respect as gentlemen and and lovers of our sport to come to the table and have our disagreements, but be able to come out better and stronger on the other side of those conversations.
I, I'm gonna send a link of this podcast to my best friend Doug. My best
Hmm.
friend Doug and I, we have disagreed for, oh my God, let's just say a really long time. It's measurable easier in decades than it is in years.
Hmm.
And about like major stuff that it's okay to disagree, and it's
Hmm.
okay to lose an argument and have to go along somebody else's path. But you have to have the argument, and you have to throw your, this is my evidence and this is my argument. I'm hoping that this evidence shows you something and my argument shows you something, and that you change your mind. If you're not willing to change your mind, if you've got some type of dogma attached to your thinking, it's not even worth us having a conversation.
Hmm. Absolutely, absolutely on that. Like if people aren't, and this is just in general, if people aren't willing to come to the table with their stuff and be proved wrong with factual information and get their minds changed. Like, that's all we can ask for. Is someone comes to the table with their information, and if you get your minds changed, that's awesome because you had
Well,
it, you talked it out.
it's called learning something.
Right. Right. You might not have wanted to go to school, but you had to go to school to learn something.
Well, and back to my boys, and uh, my kids are my crowning achievement, and it's how I think that you wind up living forever is in the memories of your kids. And my dad's still with me, and there's a lot of times where I'll think, hey, what would Papa Jim do in this situation?
Hmm.
And okay, I don't know how I'm reacting, but I'm going to think, this is how Papa Jim would do it, and I'm going to at least go down that path to get it started, to get the ball rolling. And I'd like to think that I'm making those impressions on my boys, because someday they're going to be men and they're going to be powerful enough to hurt somebody. They have the martial skills with a firearm and other ways, and they need to be able to rein that in and understand what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and how they're reacting. And somewhere in this whole USPSA conversation, and I'll say we, because we're a community, right?
Hmm.
We have lost the ability to see the other side and understand that the other side isn't evil. They're not, they're not doing it because some evil entity has put them up to it, and you know, whatever glory or trophies they're going to get. I don't think that it's that case. I think that we just have a serious miscommunication, and we definitely have uh, we've set ourselves down a path that nobody's willing to say, hey, this might not be the right path to go down.
Hmm. Right. And it exactly. It's like no one wants to admit it, if that we might be on that wrong path, and wants to make the no one wants to make the U-turn. It seems like at this point, but there are people who are willing to, like yourself, Scott, Frank. They're willing to be like, hey, we got to do something about it. We can't just not do. We've got to do something about the trajectory we're on.
Well, and just so you understand that I'm a bit of a realist.
Hmm.
Uh, I am trying to buy one of those Shadow 2 compacts
Hmm.
that will fit in the IDPA box, so that when I catch a ban from USPSA, that I've got at least IDPA to go shoot. So,
Right. Well, and there's nothing and there's nothing wrong with backup plans, right? Like,
well,
uh,
right.
it's
And I'll fully admit the whole reason I put my Area 5 paperwork in early
hmm.
was that it will look way worse if they ban somebody trying to run for area director.
I mean, it kind of would. I would agree on that.
I figured that the last couple of months and going into, and I'll just say like February 1st,
Hmm.
could get pretty interesting as far as USPSA politics go. So I figured I'd throw my stuff in early and, make it at least the optics of it look that much worse.
Right. Now, do you know how many people actually signed your petition?
I needed 50, and I'm going to say that I turned in 95, but don't quote me on that. It might have been a little bit more. I basically I used my match, and I had, I'll say the first weekend I had better part of 60, and then I traveled to two other matches kind of locally here in southeast Wisconsin and got the rest of the signatures. And as I told everybody, I said, I'm really hoping somebody else will come out of the woodwork and be a much better candidate than me.
Hmm.
But, I don't want to travel to every single one of the nationals. I'll be honest with you. I've got a life. I've got kids in sports. I've got jobs, right?
Hmm.
And so I'm not the retired guy that's going to go off and go work every nationals. I'm not going to be the range bro. I'm the guy that just wants to balance the checkbook and make sure that somebody's paying attention to the budget. And I just can't believe that the national organization doesn't get a monthly budget or um, I worked at a municipality of 60,000 people here for 20 plus years, and the elected officials and all of the deputy director level people, we all got budgets every week on how much was being spent and where you were on your cash flow and where you weren't on your cash flow. I can't believe USPSA can't generate that.
Hmm. Right. Or it's that, I mean, it might be the say is, that they might not know how to do. Like, they might not know how to ask the right questions to get those numbers from wherever they're getting
Yeah,
them from.
and I'll admit my personal quirk is that I
Hmm.
can turn anything into a number. You
Hmm.
want to, how much do you love your wife? Oh, that's a 7, right? And how much do you love your dog? That's a 9.5, right? I will quantify, anything into a number, because that's how my brain works.
Hmm.
I, you, I don't think that budgeting now, not saying accounting, because accounting is a language I don't understand, but budgeting, sticking to a budget, making a budget happen, processing it all the way through from beginning of a project, middle of a project, end of a project, rectifying it at the end. Where did it really wind up? That's the kind of stuff that I do, and
Hmm.
I would I would say that that's the one thing that USPSA seems to be missing as we sit here right now. And then back to your original question 15 minutes ago about the Wisconsin section. The Wisconsin section just not throwing money at that anymore,
Hmm.
or certain clubs aren't. I think we have 4 actual USPSA clubs, and then 3 of us are going to be running USPSA and PCSL.
Hmm. Right. Now, through that stem of conversation, it kind of segues into another question from somebody: is what do you see as the role of an area director being?
Well, to go back in time in 2019 when I came back to the sport, I would have said that that was the person that would go around and glad hand to all of the local clubs and say, hey, what are you thinking? How many rounds should production have? Is limited optics viable? Should they be part of carry optics? You know, general gun guy BS.
Hmm.
But as I sit here right now, especially after seeing the 2022 financials, I think the area directors at this point need to figure out first whether the staff that exists is the staff that is actually needed. And that's a very general term, and I'm not talking about anybody specifically, but when you talk about a business, right now USPSA is spending more than 100% of their income.
Hmm.
That only lasts for so long. And negative numbers when it comes to running a business can sometimes be a good idea. If you're going to throw an extra 100 grand into advertising in order to bring in another, 300,000 over 2 years, that's a good investment. But I think the board should be that they set the tone and the staff executes that tone with oversight from the board.
Hmm.
Again, back to me, uh, I don't want to travel to all the matches. There are definitely really cool matches. I think it's really neat if USPSA was flush with cash and they can just fly all the area directors to all of the really cool matches and they get to shoot for free, and maybe they get some free ammo, maybe they don't get free ammo, whatever. That would be neat. But at the point we are right now, USPSA is bleeding cash. Somebody's got to stop the bleeding. Somebody's got to put us on a new path, and somebody's got to make sure that we stay on that path. Um, Rick Steele, the Area 5 director, put my motion before the board that was actually ruled out of order because they actually didn't read the whole motion, but that's neither here nor there. Um, Somebody's going to have to realize that we're losing too much money. We're going to have to go back. We're going to have to curtail the number of nationals we run. We're going to have to figure out what it actually takes to run a nationals. what our customers actually want as far as nationals go, because the people that I talk to would be much happier shooting a really good level two rather than going to shoot a nationals.
Hmm.
And I've shot level twos that far surpassed the two nationals, or I guess I've shot three nationals now, that I've shot in the last 3 years. I recently shot a level two that was beyond my experience at nationals.
Well, that talks highly of the level two, or really bad of national. But we'll take it as a good compliment for the level two, I guess, at this
Yeah,
point.
and not, I haven't had a bad experience at nationals, except I was there for golf cart gate uh, at low cap. So
Hmm.
that entertained me because I didn't understand all of the politics behind it. But so
Hmm.
at the time it entertained me, and now it just annoys me.
Right, because you remember that trickle effect has done all of this, right? I mean, like, if you think about it, it's a
Well,
in a
and
long. I'm not the money. The money thing it doesn't
yeah.
pertain to, but just you think about it. If that one incident didn't happen, like if somebody could go back in time and change this one incident from happening, where would we be right now?
Oh, that's a really good. Oh, that's like a that's like a Terminator movie kind of stuff right there.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. I could
Mm.
get. Hmm. I would watch this movie. I would watch this movie. But I mean, I really loved Terminator, and Terminator 2 is a good one too, though. I'm not so keen on all the new ones, but you
I,
know,
I lost track after I watched three, or I tried to watch three, and I left three very upset.
hmm.
But I think I'm a little bit older than you. I walked out of Return of the Jedi really upset
Okay.
because I was 7 when Star Wars came out. Star Wars was my childhood, and Return of the Jedi, I didn't feel good after Return of the Jedi. The little teddy bears really upset me.
Yeah, they're very now. Now, did the prequels upset you as much as Return of the Jedi?
All right, real talk here. If you're wondering who Chris St. Clair is, here is deep dive into his psyche. Uh, I had the Darth Maul action figure
Hmm.
before Phantom Menace came out.
Hmm.
I was at the Phantom Menace at midnight because like a battered spouse after Return of the Jedi, I came back and I came back for Phantom Menace. I did not see the end of Phantom Menace. I left.
Okay.
I walked out, but my friend Doug, who I mentioned earlier, friend forever, and we disagreed on Star Wars greatly. Again,
Hmm.
very important things that we disagreed about. He says you have to watch the end of it, and then because the Clone Wars was next,
Hmm.
and he's like, "You're going to Clone Wars. I got us tickets. I'm picking you up. You have no excuse, right? Put the baby to bed. My daughter had been born, and the whole thing, and just put the baby to bed. You're going to Clone Wars." Loved Clone Wars, so I was brought back into the fold. I and let's not talk about like the last three or four.
Why would we do that? Why would we want to hurt our feelings of Star
Correct,
Wars?
right? Yes, I still always go back to Empire, and I always feel the best after Empire.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. But no. So Chris, I think we're near the end of our time tonight. That we've kind of got listed for this. But um, is there any last sounding board or words you want to leave the listeners with about yourself, this kind of whole situation we're in, just anything?
All I would say is, you don't have to believe me. You don't have to believe Derek at Practical Shooting Insights. But if you care about the sport, get yourself educated. Look at what's going on. Look at the action of people, and look at what people are saying, or more importantly, what people are not saying. USPSA could solve a lot of their, and let's just call it public relations problems, by just coming out with a statement, any statement. If you go through the board of directors meeting minutes and not just the recent ones. Feel free to go back. They're out on the website. They go back pretty far. You're going to see a history of secrecy. And for the life of me, USPSA is a great organization. I don't know that it is a secret organization. I don't know, other than a couple of negotiated contracts, that it would have to keep secret from its membership if its membership asked. And um, Area 5 folks, I'm not sitting here asking for your vote at this point. What I'm actually asking is for somebody in Area 5 that really wants this job and really wants to spend an extra 10 hours of their week doing it. Uh, Come forward, explain why you're better than me, why you're better than Leif, while you're better than anybody else. I'll vote for you because this definitely is something that I feel serious about and I'm willing to put all of the work into, but there might be somebody better out there. I'm the guy that's going to call the spade the spade. I'm the guy that is going to have the dissenting no vote. I don't like it when I see unanimous verbal votes on any board. I can't believe that some of the recent stuff happened unanimously. And if you look back and especially if you go back 2 or 3 years and you talk about what people are saying out loud right now and how they voted 2 or 3 years ago, you're going to find some, I want to say the word lie, but you're going to, let's call them discrepancies. And that's, uh, the sport is worth saving. All of the guys who don't want to put their membership number down because they don't want to give $1.50 to the organization, all that kind of stuff. I appreciate what you're saying, and I do understand voting with your pocketbook. But if you're letting your membership lapse, you don't get a vote. That means you don't get a vote in the next elections. You don't really have a say. I can guarantee you, if you're writing a pissed off email to the board of directors, they're looking you up. If you don't have a current number, they're just hitting delete and going on to the next one.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's my speech. And um, if anybody's just wondering how to think, and whether you're a parent or not, and I'm coming from the parent side, is how would you explain what's going on to this organization to a 16 or 17-year-old boy who's going to leave your house a year from now? And if you're going to let people get away with blatant unfairness, what might they do, or what might they have learned from that, and they go forward when they're 25 or 30 years old as grown men? That's how I'm thinking about it.
Mm-hmm. And as we should, you're looking out for the future of this sport, right? Like you want to pass this down to your sons, and then your sons to pass it down to their sons, and you can have a longer, whiter beard and be out there with your grandkids, enjoying the thing that you love to do.
Well, and that's exactly my goal. I walk up to the guys at the level 2 that run the chronograph now because they can't chase shooters around the shooting bays and that kind of stuff. Uh, I'm hoping to be that guy. The day's coming closer than I would like to admit. My fastest runs are probably a little bit behind me, but I'm still out there trying. And when my boys regularly beat me, maybe it's time where I just run the timer for a bit. I don't know. I see guys much older than me, much more feeble than me out there having fun, and that's my goal. I see them hanging out with their friends. Um, just as a kind of a side note, one of the things that I would love to do with a match, and I know nobody would sign up for it, is I would like to do random squatting, to just have everybody shoot with people they're not used to shooting with,
Mm-hmm.
just to meet some new people. There's so many friends that we haven't met in the organization and in the shooting sports. I'm not a two gun guy. I'm not a three-gun guy, but I shot a rifle match recently, and I had a blast. I didn't do well. but the people that I normally wouldn't shoot with that I met, I count them as friends now, and
Hmm.
that's kind of what this is all about. And I don't know why we have to bitch and moan as much as we have been. It's pretty obvious, you know. It takes a pretty big man to say, hey, I didn't do this right, but I've learned. Let's do this now, and let's just do that. The whole thing. And I'm more passionate. I will find places to shoot personally. Um, this is my boys enjoy it. They've enjoyed the time with me. They're going to go off to college and they're going to do college stuff, and eventually they're going to get a job and maybe make enough money where they can afford their own ammunition. And and they're going to bring their girlfriends, their wives, and eventually their kids into it, and they're going to be able to tell a story about how they used to do that with their dad.
Hmm.
And it has great value to me, and it's not lost on me that it has great value, or it has potential great value to other people. And I the the people currently making decisions, I would like to think are not malicious in their decisions. They're looking at it a different way. I would really like to hear what that different way is, and I could definitely be wrong. But I would like them to listen to, and it's not just my way. There's a, let's just call it the howler monkey way. I would like to have them listen to us for that, and see if maybe that isn't a better path for the whole sport, and the whole community. Because at this point, we've got the us and them and all that kind of stuff, and we're wasting a lot of energy internally that could probably be better off growing the sport.
Hmm. Oh, absolutely, 100%. We need to be not us and them. It needs to be USPSA as a
Us.
whole.
It
Yes.
just be it needs to be us, and that's kind of hard. And you know, people learn one way and they think that that's the only way. There's a lot of different ways to do all of this stuff. And you go to a staff reset match, you go to a squad reset match, and it,
Hmm.
it's the same game, and it's the same shit talking, and have a couple of laughs and
Hmm.
make fun of each other, and eventually somebody wins. I don't know about you, Manny, but I'm not going for the overall trophy. I'd be happy to win like single stack out of three single stack shooters.
Hmm. Right. Well, I
Well,
will.
well, you're an open guy, aren't you?
I am an open guy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that end of the pool's too deep.
Right. Well, I will say the only thing that I will say is it's there's not a wrong. It's between two sides. It's these people who do this thing called new math that is absolutely wrong. We just go back to regular math, people.
uh,
Like.
well, all right. We nerded out on the Star Wars things for a bit, but
Hmm.
are you a calculator guy?
I guess I don't know what to follow. I mean,
All right.
I can
So
do math without a calculator, but.
so there are calculators where you do like 12 and then hit plus and then 6 and
Hmm.
then equals and you get 18.
Hmm.
But there are calculators where you do 12, enter 6 plus and you get 18. It's called reverse Polish notation,
Hmm.
and the real nerds use those calculators.
Oh, okay.
So, all right, so now we've got guacamole, taco dip, and your calculator. I'll judge you on.
Fair enough. That is
But
fair. But.
everything else, I'm willing to change my mind on. I'm too old to learn how to use a new calculator, to the
Hmm.
point where I just bought the calculator that I bought in college off of eBay
Hmm.
for probably about as much as I spent on it in 1988. But
Right.
again, yeah. But yes, I have a calculator from 1988.
Nothing wrong with
So
that.
I'm willing to take it to the board if I wind up elected. I'm going to try my best to not get myself elected and find somebody else better to go out there and fight the good fight. That's my goal as I sit here right now, and I'll just go shoot matches and have some fun with my friends.
Hmm. Well,
And
absolutely.
Matt,
Good.
when I come to Michigan, can I shoot with you, Manny?
Absolutely. We always
All
need one more degenerate on the squad.
right. That I've got covered. I'll bring my boys and show you the next generation of degenerates.
There we go. Absolutely. I'd be more than down for that. But as this is a great segue, Chris, brother, thank you for your time. We sat here for over almost an hour and 45 minutes of good, heartfelt conversation of getting to know you, getting to figure out what's kind of going on in your life and what angle you're coming at for wanting to be Area 5 director or just making, fixing the ship of making it us, right?
Yeah, and that's probably the big shtick. If somebody else can explain this stuff better to my boys,
Hmm.
have at it. I wish they were a little bit smarter than they are, but they'll try to pay attention to you.
Hmm. Yeah, Chris, brother, thank you for your time. Listeners, thank you for listening for this. Chris, if they want to get a hold of you, if they want to have a conversation with you, what's the best way to do it?
Instagrams. I'm one of the old guys, and I have the Instagrams. I am at 667_beast. So I am the neighbor of the beast.
I like that.
So you can find me there. That's the easiest way to get with me. I usually have the Instagrams on in the back while I'm doing real work. Otherwise, you go to schultzgunclub.com. If you click on the contact us, when you click on the secretary, that's me. Send me an email if you want to send me something long and hard. I believe my personal email address may be out on my Instagram page as well because I've posted a number of the emails that I've sent to the board out
Hmm.
there. It's not a secret. It's stclaircs@gmail.com. Send me something. If you don't like me, send me hate mail. Send me memes. I'm easily entertained.
Right. Exactly. Now, guys, if you want to get a hold of Chris, please do so. Chris, brother, thank you again for coming on. And to the listeners, get out and do the things. I will see you on the next one.